And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Devin Patrick, who writes, "Greetings, John and Rob." Well, of course, unfortunately, I'm flying solo right now, but just wondering what you thought about the interview Tom Hiddleston just did, where he said he is more than willing to play Loki for the rest of his career. I'm used to hearing about these actors looking forward to moving on from the roles that made them rich and famous. So it's kind of refreshing to hear one that actually wants to stay. Do you think this gives us a hint that the MCU plans on using Loki a lot more in the future? Okay, thanks a lot for that, Devin. And you're right. You're right. You know, as the comic book genre has exploded, and a lot of the actors who kind of got in on the ground floor of it got to ride that wave and become some of the most popular, recognizable stars in the world because of these properties, it's kind of become expected that we start to hear things like, yeah, I'm going to do one or two more and then I'm moving on. Or I'm looking forward to new challenges or stuff like that. And I, believe me, I understand that. I totally do. I totally get it. But at the same time, there's a part of me that feels a little bit the entitled, snotty fan part of me that all of us have. We all have this entitled, snotty fan part of all of us, right? So there's this little part of me that's the entitled, snotty fan part that kind of feels like whenever they talk about it, it's like, hey man, come on, let's be honest here. Like, most of us wouldn't even know who you are if it wasn't for the fact that DC cast you in this. Or most of us wouldn't even know who you are if Kevin Feige and Marvel didn't cast you in that. And all we hear you talking about is what you're going to do next and moving on. Hey, you know, we kind of made you big, rich, and famous. Maybe you can just talk about how great it is to be in these. So I get it. You're right. And we've seen that happen a lot. And we've seen certain actors move on and then come back and then move on. But anyway, so what he's talking about here is that Tom Hiddleston was recently doing an interview talking about, of course, Loki and the finale that just happened and stuff like that. And Tom Hiddleston, this is what he said. He said something that I thought was pretty cool. He said the following: "If I were asked to play Loki for the rest of my life, I would. Or would I? Yeah, I absolutely would. I'm so lucky that I've got to play Loki for this long. And you know, I feel like he's such an interesting character who's been around in human consciousness for so long. He's got so many different aspects, so many different complex characteristics, that it feels like every time I play him, I find out something new, or we get to evolve him, or take him down an avenue that we haven't gone down before." And again, that first part, if I were asked to play Loki again for the rest of my life, would I? Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you something. I love hearing an actor who, let's face it, Tom Hiddleston, he's a very, very gifted actor. He would have made a career for himself even without Loki, but he's on all of our radars right now because of Loki. It is so nice to hear an actor who has talent to do more, and we've seen him do more. He's gone, when he hasn't been shooting Marvel stuff, he's gone off and done very well shooting other things. But it's so nice to hear an actor who, number one, recognizes, I've got the career status that I have because of this role and because of the fans who love me as this character. And to then say, I love it and I'll do it for the rest of my life. Now, of course, I don't think any of us who are rational or reasonable fully expect Tom Hiddleston to actually play Loki for the rest of his life, but it's nice hearing that kind of attitude come out of him. And I don't mean that as a slam on any other actor who hasn't come. I'm not saying that every actor needs to come out and say, yes, I hereby pledge my lifelong fidelity to this character and this cinematic universe only forever and always till the day I die. I'm not saying I need the other actors to do that. I'm just saying it's kind of refreshing hearing one kind of do that. It makes me feel like he really appreciates what he's got and that he appreciates us, the entitled, snotty fans. It just feels nice, right? Now, as far as the second part of your question about, does this tell us anything potentially about maybe the MCU using Loki a lot more moving forward? And maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to say yes. I do think so. Now, listen, we've already heard that they are going to shoot They're going to do Loki season 2, and they're already working out what the details of Loki season 2 are going to be. That was predetermined. So there's that. But then we started getting these reports from the Hollywood Reporter that he was going to be in Doctor Strange 2, which Marvel has not confirmed. But again, it was coming from the Hollywood Reporter, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until we hear otherwise. I mean, it's possible it's not true, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until we hear otherwise. So there's that. And yeah, listen, when you give the character Loki, now whether you loved or hated the Loki series, when you give a character that kind of story arc and you give his character that much evolution, because we went through a great story arc of character evolution for Loki in this, like whether you liked anything else or not, you got to acknowledge that he had incredible character evolution, incredible character development, going from the Loki we saw in episode 1 to the Loki we got in episode 6. I feel like you only do that if you're setting him up for other things in the universe as well. Now, again, I have no insider information on that. I don't know that that's actually true. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We'll find out as we progress. But if you're asking me my opinion, I feel like Tom Hiddleston saying that is a little bit of a hint that, yeah, he is expecting to be around playing Loki for a while. And listen, I've told you this before. Steve Rogers, Captain America, is my absolute favorite character in the MCU. Not in comics, but in the MCU he is. Tom Hiddleston's Loki's been my second favorite. He's been my second favorite. And that's no disrespect to Chris Hemsworth and the amazing Thor he gives. I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, but I've always loved the complexity ever since the great Kenneth Branagh directed that first Thor movie and gave us a Loki, a villain that clearly had multiple layers and there are different dimensions to him. And I've always liked him as a character. I, for one, with the idea that he may be around for a long time in the MCU, it makes me feel a little bit better about the future of the MCU. But anyway, guys, that's just me. Question is for you. What do you think about Tom Hiddleston's words saying that, hey man, I will play Loki for the rest of my life? I kind of like it. Do you think it's an indication that the MCU has talked to him about future plans? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.